Hello everyone, my name is Catalyst, and welcome to the How to Not Suck series, the grammatically incorrect series that teaches you how to play Battlefield. As you may know, we are going through every single specialist in the game before going to some more in-depth videos, going through each one, learning how to most optimally play them and learn their quirks and tricks, before suggesting loadouts for them. The previous episode was on McKay, so if you have not seen that video or are interested in watching it, you can click the card in the top right hand corner of your screen if you are on desktop, or you can click the thumbnail at the end of this video. This video is going to be covering Casper, the stereotypical quiet bush Wookiee character that is every back of the map sniper's wet dream, but is probably better used elsewhere. In today's video, we will go over Casper's recon drone, his movement detection suit, when the best places to use them are, and how to best utilize him on the battlefield. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get to work. So Casper is in a bit of a weird spot for me personally. Obviously, we're coming down to the final three specialists in the game. We only have Falk and Angel to go after this. So we have covered a majority of the specialists in the game, and a big part of the series is explaining how these specialists work, mostly in two areas: how they work together with other specialists, and how best you can utilize the specialist personally. And that's where I'm at a bit of a snag with Casper, because if you want to be, technical about it, Casper has a lot of worth in just finding a spot in some bush somewhere and flying his drone around and spotting the entire enemy team and getting a crap ton of spotting points and assists, which is a valid use of Casper, and that's why you'll frequently see Casper players getting assist cards at the end of every round. But does that make him a good specialist? I don't think so, and I also don't think that that's a very fun way to play the game consistently. And I say all of that because I think Casper runs into a unique problem in Battlefield 2042, in which one of his main abilities kind of takes a gigantic nerf by association with some game design, and that's something that we will kind of discuss throughout this video. But to start, let's go ahead and talk about Casper's recon drone and movement sensor suit. Casper's OVP recon drone is a deployable drone that spots moving enemies and vehicles, and can also disperse EMP shots at vehicles if those vehicles are within 25 meters of the drone. The EMP blast occurs for only 5 seconds and requires you to lock onto it via the drone in order for it to work. The EMP blast also works on board sentry turrets and rangers, but again, the time of effect is only 5 seconds, so it's not too strong. The drone will stay up, and you can enter and leave the suite as long as you don't die and it doesn't get shot down, but after you die, you need to place a new one on your next life. The drone can also travel a pretty far distance away before disconnecting, up to around 300 meters. The drone can also use the lock-on that it uses to EMP vehicles and other things to act like a SOFLAM for other rocket launchers on your team, but again, you have to have the drone within that 25-meter radius in order for it to work. Casper's trait, on the other hand, is his motion sensor suit that notifies you with pulses at the bottom of your HUD when enemies approach. The enemies have to be moving in order for the sensor to pick anything up. The range it starts picking up movement is around 25 meters, and that will send out one red pulse, and at around 15 meters the motion sensor will start going nuts and vibrating with 2 pulses. The motion sensor does work while you are using the recon drone, but I found it to be a little bit glitchy at times. I was testing all of this with a teammate, and he was able to run around me and even touch me without the sensor going off one life, but the very next life it was working as normal. So I would just say I wouldn't rely too heavily on the motion sensor being accurate when you're using the recon drone. And that's really it for Casper's abilities. They are pretty straightforward. There are no real quirks that come to mind that aren't unintended bugs. With that all being said, what is the best way to play Casper? Well, I kind of memed about it earlier that Casper was your stereotypical bush Wookiee that a lot of sniper mains will gravitate towards, and I joke about that because I think that's the exact opposite of how you should be playing him. Again, it is viable to do the whole sit in a bush and just spot people for 30 minutes strat, but to me the best way to play Casper is what I've been doing a lot of in the background of this video, which is using Casper's drone to control strong points around the map, spot enemy players and vehicles, and really try to be an effective on-point specialist that has a lot of killing potential. It's extremely contradicting to his stereotype, but that's where you'll have the most success. The information that you can get with Casper is unmatched when you use it correctly. Of course, the big downside is that you are completely vulnerable while getting it when using the drone, and with these wide open maps there are only a few places that you are truly safe, but especially in breakthrough through where there is a general direction that enemies are coming from, setting up and ratting behind cover and then using your drone to spot vehicles or batches of enemies, or surprising them for quick multi-kills is not only fun but effective as well if you get good at it. I'll often throw myself behind cover with teammates around, deploy my drone, and peek over the cover or around it with the drone to spot what is in the immediate area, and if I spot a lot of enemies, I'll just sit there and spot them all for my air vehicles and teammates. If there's just a few of them, I'll try and pre-fire them and challenge them, and if there is a vehicle, I will try and fire my EMP and then quickly C5 them. And yeah, I've gone the entire episode without mentioning it, but C5 droning is still a thing in the game. It does still work, and I've been able to pull it off. The reason I've left it out is because I'm not sure whether or not DICE intends to fix it, and I don't exactly condone this behavior. But with that being said, this episode wouldn't be complete without mentioning that it does exist and that you can still do it. So all in all, there is actually a lot that you can do with Casper's kit, but here's the problem with it. I hinted earlier that I didn't think Casper was a great specialist, and here's why. It's something that isn't talked about a whole lot when people talk about the core gameplay loop of 2042, but there is a lot of spotting in Battlefield 2042 when you think about it. Casper excluded, there are 3 other specialists that have some kind of spotting worked into their kits, of which all of them can spot through walls. In addition to spotting from vehicles, air vehicles, and land vehicles, there are also sensor grenades. There is passive 3D spotting that reveals big orange nameplates above enemies when your crosshair is looking directly at them, and you are also spotted when you fire your weapon without a suppressor, and you actually stay on the minimap for a few seconds after you're done firing your weapon as well. And with Battlefield 2042's inflated player counts, everything I just mentioned is multiplied by 2, and that's excluding Casper. So, as I alluded to earlier, Casper has this really unique problem of having one of his main functions of his ability be something that is already present in the game quite a lot, and in some cases is a stronger part of other specialist kits, namely Boris and Pake. So what's really the reason to use Casper at the end of the day when you can use Pake to see people through walls and then kill them without having to get your drone out and make yourself vulnerable and fly up into the sky and spot them and then go ahead and challenge them, and you don't even know if you're going to win the gunfight? Not to mention the fact that even though spotting is very strong, you still need to rely on your teammates to recognize the spot and look at their minimaps and kill players that you've spotted, which doesn't always happen, and you know how I feel about relying on teammates to get things done. It's not that Casper is an inherently bad or useless specialist, because as I've hopefully outlined to you in this guide video, he is useful and he can be very dynamic, but with the way Battlefield 2042 is designed, not only are there plainly better specialists to use than Casper that fit more specific playstyles better, the main use of his ability is also something that is very rampant throughout the game already, and he artificially gets pushed down the rankings list. As for what loadout I would recommend running with Casper, I think he is one of the few specialists in the game that I would actively run a suppressor on the weapon. I was really enjoying the M5 with either a suppressor and close combat rounds, or the M5 with a short barrel and subsonic rounds. Either one realistically works, but also any SMG is a pretty viable choice. That, along with C5 and either smoke grenades to escape tight situations or EMP grenades to ambush tanks more effectively, is more than likely the way to go. As always, I suggest other compatible specialists to run along with this specialist if you're in a squad. For Casper, I would suggest Pake, Sundance, and Irish. Pake is a great partner for Casper, especially if you are locking down an objective together. With Casper's motion sensor suit, you can detect enemies, and then Pake can use her EMG scanner, and you have a nice 1-2 spotting combo. Sundance is also a good choice. Casper can stun tanks with his recon drone's EMP blast, and Sundance can wingsuit in for some easy C5 kills on tanks, and vice versa. Sundance's EMP grenades that come with her kit make tanks sitting ducks for C5 drones. Lastly, I suggest Irish, as his APS Sentinel system can repel grenades around you if you are holding ground on an objective or are in your recon drone suite. As for where I would rank Casper, I would rank him as the 9th ranked specialist in both Conquest and in Breakthrough. Again, this may seem like a pretty low ranking. It's not that he's a bad specialist, as we talked about throughout most of the video, he's actually quite useful in many situations. It's just that his rank is dropped down quite considerably because I feel that there are just better, more specific specialists to use in certain situations, and his main ability provides something that is already very plentiful in the game naturally. In the end, it comes down to how well you process information with Casper and how good your teammates are at killing your spotted enemies. That's the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found this video useful and enjoyed your time here. I'm sorry for the long turnaround again on this video. Playing 2042 has been pretty difficult recently. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and leave a comment if you made it to the end of the video. It helps me tremendously in the algorithm, and if you enjoyed it just that much, you should consider subscribing. Once again, thank you all for watching. My name is Catalyst, and I will see you all another time.